we're gonna go through some of the different techniques that I've worked on. Let me see. I think we want wind. I marked a few neighborhoods here and there, and this will be sort of the different places where I had to deal with the terrain differences. So the whole point of the stream, by the way, is to sort of show you the techniques that I've been using to get the city to sort of flow and follow the contour of the ground and not be just completely flat or just completely ugly, I guess. So I think we should probably start off in here, because like the main issue that I've been having ever since I started working on this project, and you know, it's one of those things that you learn as you become more knowledgeable about Cities Skylines and detail work and stuff like that. There's an issue with scale. Obviously the texture here, these rocks are a little bit big compared to the houses. This will be much more detail or like smaller in scale, but that doesn't help, especially when you're terraforming in the map editor. You really don't have any houses or roads or anything like that to go by. So, but I realized that if you're starting a new map, just in general, you might want to start on the shorelines, because I do see a lot of screenshots on Reddit and things like that where people just have like massive cliffs on a tiny river that goes through the city. And that doesn't look very realistic. So the first things that I would do is just start with the shorelines. And in this case, you can see how gentle the slope is from the road. Let me actually point the camera in the other way so that at least we get some decent frame rate. You can see how like gentle the slope is towards the water. If you start putting down your road right, just a few meters, like maybe 1 or 2 meters next to the water, and raise it enough that creates a realistic slope, this will sort of help you shape the rest of your city. So originally I didn't do that, so you can see how this key is like way more elevated than everything else. There's like an inverted slope here. It's actually taller than maybe it should be. In this case, it doesn't look terrible, so I'm not opposed to how this looks, but it's it will save you from headaches in the future when you're dealing with bodies of water and the terrain next to it. If you start from below, or from like ground level or water level or sea level, actually it's the word I'm looking for, sea level all the way up. So I just wanted to point this out first. In fact, if we go into here, here's another example. So usually like you'd see like walls like this in people's cities, and in this case, it looks okay, even though this is like undone. Like it's actually going to be mirrored, this design, probably once I'm finished with it. But you do want some like realistic height. In this case, I think it's a little bit too tall. Like you wouldn't have this massive cliff on a tiny river like this. I mean, you might, but it looks much more realistic, in my opinion, if it was just a bit more shallow. So like, let's say the water was actually at the level where the texture is set to. I think that will look a little bit better. Let me go into cinematic mode so that we don't see all that nasty UI. Let me see what chat is saying. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not gonna be working on Night Owl, just so you know. I'm just using Night Owl to show off the different techniques. We will work. Actually, I have a surprise for everyone that's in the chat right now. If you stick to the end of the stream, I have a little surprise for you, but you'll have to wait. So just in general, if you have questions as I showcase things, I'm gonna be ranting for like a few seconds or like a minute, and then stop, try to catch up with chat and answer questions specific to what I just showed. And then we'll move on to another technique and so on. And then at the end of the stream, we're gonna have a full QA session, so you can ask me whatever you like. What are my specs that frame rate looks bad? So the problem of the frame rate is not my computer specs so much, is the game is not optimized but for the number of assets that I have. You can find my specs on my website, strictoster.com/specs. I could benefit from like a little bit more of VRAM. I have a 980 Ti right now, which only has 6 gigs, and I'm maxing that out. If I had like a 1080 Ti or a 2080 Ti, it would work a little bit better, but it would still have like a terrible frame rate. So not much I can do about that. All right. So let's see. So, okay. Let me escape again because I do need to bring the... if I point to the ground, we get like a nice 17 FPS. I'm also slowing down the game by 50% just to make it a little bit nicer. Let me go back into districts. So here's another area. I guess we can talk about this one. That there's quite a bit going on. Let me change the time of the day so you can actually see what I'm doing. That looks nice. There we go. So in general, throughout Nightle, I've been using a lot of these keys by Avania. You could use the vanilla keys. They work the same way. Though you're going to need, in order to do what I'm doing here, you're going to need a mod called Key Anarchy. The reason why you need that is because by default, like the game doesn't allow you to place keys outside of the water. So keys have like this sort of feature to them. I can actually show you here. If I select the segment and paste it here, for example, you'll see, or you'll notice at least, that one edge of the key sort of raises the ground while the other one exposes the wall. So let me really quickly make an alignment here. Let me just unselect all of this. Oh, thank you for your donation, Ajeli. He's asking, how do you get those realistic graphics? So there's a combination of mods that I have working here. And I can show you real quick. I have this mod called Ultimate Eye Candy, which has, I have another mod called Relight, if I can remember how to bring, I never remember how to bring the, this is not what I want. Was it, I thought it was like period, but it's not working. I have this mod called Ultimate Eye Candy and Relight, and I have a whole bunch of settings set so that it looks this way. There's a great video by Press on how to get realistic, actually, let me bring it up real quick and link it so that realistic Cities Skylines Press. This video will help you a lot. I'm gonna paste it in the chat. I'm gonna also paste it on Twitch just for that everyone can see. And oh, is my mic too loud? Let me bring it. Is that better? I never know. Like, I actually feel like it's quieter when I re-listen to the stream. Hopefully that's okay. It's not peaking or anything on my end. Anyways, if you want realistic graphics, go check out that video by Press. That will be the best way to change your settings. All right, coming back to keys. The way I have when you put down keys on the ground, I mean, this happens with the water too, but when you do it on the ground, it's it pulls the terrain on one side and exposes the wall on the other. So I've been using this just all over the city. I'm going to show you more examples as we go through the different markers that I put out. But this is a great tool for having or dealing at least with terrain differences. So in this case, I'm sort of containing this this terrain here with a key. So if we look closer, we have a road on this side that's pulling the ground. So there's all these like different types of networks in City Skylines that will affect the ground in different ways. So you know what? It might be easier if I just show you. So for example, let's put down just a regular vanilla road right here. And if I use move it to raise this up or down, it will bring the terrain with it. And obviously it sort of expands and creates a cliff when it reaches a certain height. If I bring it back down, if I can actually select the nodes, there we go. It reduces those cliffs, but you can combine all these things together. So you can grab this key and move it closer to the road. In fact, if you use this tool that's align heights, you can select this node, and now these two will be perfectly aligned, so I can even clip them between one another. I should probably turn this off, which is follow terrain. It makes things easier so that it doesn't, the nodes or anything that you selected wouldn't necessarily move around. And let's do the same with this. There we go. Perfect. So now everything's aligned. In fact, it's kind of like a pixel higher than it should be. So you can select both of the nodes for the keys and like bring it down using page down, so that you have the two kind of flushed against each other. You do get that little mark there if you go too far down, but you can bring it up one level by holding Alt, and it will sort of reduce the increments. That way, you can now have these roads sort of right next to the thing, and if you were, let's say you have another neighborhood that's lower or at least downhill from this one, you can bring this down, and suddenly you achieve a look that looks like this. The closer you bring this to the other road, now you have like a perfectly flushed distance between these two roads, and it doesn't have exposed cliffs or anything. I probably wouldn't necessarily use this one key because it, this clearly was textured so that it was on the water, but there's other ones like the one I did here. Let me show you real quick. That it just doesn't have any watermarks, so you can just use it in the middle of the ground and it will still look nice. So that's one way to do it. Obviously, if I grab these two and move this out of the way, this is what it looks like. So there's other ways you can deal with this. It's kind of tricky because sometimes if you play and try to glitch things too much, I mean, I can try using my keyword for this. It creates these like jagged shadows. Those are kind of unavoidable at least not right now. You can try to cover it with decals. It will still, or props even, it will sort of show through. But there's ways around it. I've had that kind of problem in other places. I'll show you how to deal with those. But this is sort of the basics of what I'm doing in general when I'm dealing with terrain differences. It's basically all of the techniques that I use throughout this city. It's mostly combinations of this. So I'm going to show you a few other combinations, but let me see if Chad has a few more questions before I move on. What's going on with Flux? He's actually slowly getting back to things. We've been producing the Cities Skylines build-off in stream in Sweden a couple weeks ago, and he also had a ton of schoolwork, so I think he's slowly returning to his schedule. How can you avoid the nasty clipping between roads and keys next to one another on the shoreline? So, I mean, I think you're talking about literally what I just showed. Maybe there's a bit of a delay, but the clipping, let's say you did have. Let's do this. Let's make this like really close to one another. Is this what you were talking about, like having the dirt sort of coming through? Let me bring this down enough so that now we have the road right on the edge right here. And if we bring this one closer, it's going to start creating those jagged edges that I was saying before. So this is like basically like perfectly flushed, road and road, and just a terrain difference sort of in the middle. Avoiding this jagged edges, the only way I can think of right now is using pluggable asphalt. So you can just, here, let's do this one instead. You can, for example, do this. And select the prop, if I can. There we go. So you can do this just on this very specific place. Actually, you might be able to just get away by moving them a little bit to the side. That way you don't have to like replop the road markings or anything like that. You can do something like this. It's not ideal, and obviously you need to do a much better job than me aligning this thing. So this sort of split color on this road doesn't necessarily look super bad. The problem is if you have, I'll talk about that later, but Another problem that usually happens is if you have this like this, let's say you wanted a little bit of separation because you wanted to sort of avoid having to plop the, wow, that's actually, someone is texting me and it's coming through my computer. That's actually the music player, sorry. If you have this problem, there's ways to fix it using the clipping path, which is this type of road. It's called the clipping network. You can find it in the workshop. And what you do with this, it basically creates a void in the terrain. This one doesn't have any like levels. You cannot raise it up or down. You just like move it in place. And this one, as you can see, gets rid of all of those nasty spikes, though you end up with empty hole in the ground. You can actually see the void down there. Now, one thing you can do here is we can literally grab all these ploppable asphalts, move them out of the way, align them to this road, and then bring them here. In fact, we can even bring them up like that. And now you can, well, fix that issue, at least by doing that. So that's another way that I have done. I'll show you in much greater detail later in just a few seconds. But these are the only, the only ways that I can think of on how to avoid having all those clipped edges and things of that nature. My ploppable asphalt doesn't work very well. The height is very buggy. Ploppable asphalt works really good. So if you're having issues, you might be missing another mod. So you're gonna need, if you really want to raise ploppable asphalt up and down and not have any issues, you're gonna need the maybe prop snapping is the mod that you may be missing. Like there's really, like if you can raise any prop or and move any prop, ploppable asphalt works exactly the same way. So you shouldn't have any issues with that. You might be missing that mod. Will you upload this video? Yes, this is going on my channel after we're done with this stream. So it will probably take a day, mostly because I need to I want to chop the countdown, usually like edit the countdown. So it will take a little while before that happens. Can you place the key under the road? Yeah, the key is already under the road, as you can see here. You can do it both ways. You can have it like this. Let's see if I rotate it. Keys are kind of finicky too. Like if you rotate them, they don't necessarily always pull the terrain on the same side. You have to like nudge it. But like here is the key not under the road. And right here is the key under the road. So you can see both versions of it. Yeah, now the road is now the key wall is exposed on this side. But sometimes so you move the keys and it will just switch sides. It's kind of annoying. There's really no way on how to get it right, at least now that I know of, on how to get it right every single time. It's kind of like hit and miss. But I will tell you 90% of the time it works great, but sometimes it doesn't. So let's see. Let's say try to I haven't played Cities Skylines in like 2 years. There have been any optimizations if you play vanilla and the game is still more bound to CPU than GPU? Thanks. I mean, the vanilla game, it depends on what kind of computer you have. Vanilla games, like the vanilla version of the game, always work great for me. It really depends. If you have a city that's like 65,000 or higher population, it will start lagging a little bit and you're going to start having missing agents in general, because there's like a limit on how many sims are going to be in the city and things like that. But I mean, I haven't experienced any like bad performance in vanilla ever, but I always had like an okay computer that I could run it. So maybe that's it. For custom content, invest in RAM. Like at least if you're planning on having this many level of assets, at least get 32 gigs of RAM. And I would recommend 8 to 11 gigs of video RAM. Can you give me some ideas for making a map? Just use terrain.party. That's a website. Grab a landscape from somewhere in the world that you want, and then just put it in the map editor. And there's tons of tutorial on how to do that online. Just import that, tweak things, and you know that's probably the best way to do that. You're not using Ronix terraforming networks? I'm not. Should I? I feel like I don't know. I've been mostly using this stuff. Like I don't know what would the benefit of that would be. To be honest, I guess I should try them out. Can you make a road where the trams are on the inside instead of the outside? The trams are on the inside. Like so, this this is on the outside for you. Would this be on the inside? Is this what you mean? Not entirely sure. Can you transfer your knowledge about Cities Skylines and mods into my brain so my cities look better? I mean, all of my knowledge is already in the form of a couple of videos that you should watch. The one from press is one, but $2.20 did another one called How to Create Realistic Cities. That's more like from like a building sort of point of view. All right, let's see. Can you make a tutorial about the new express roads? I haven't played enough with that. Honestly, industries in general, not my kind of DLC. Like it's cool that you have all those like new supply chain stuff, but I rarely play with the game mechanics, so I'm really not interested in that. Let me just go through the rest of the terraforming things here. I don't want to get too off topic because people are going to be watching this after, and it's just not going to make any sense. And then at the end of the stream, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you want, terraforming or not. So once you start getting into more things, as you start putting down, you know, all these keys, as you can see here, this is a whole combination of that. Another technique that I've been using a lot is not only having keys at different levels, as you can see here, but also mixing it up with props and walls. So I think it might be better if I also sort of stage it here. So let's bring back another key. We're going to be using this nasty. Actually, you know what? Let's use the proper keys here. So one technique that I've been playing a lot with is, let me bring this all the way up. So in general, if you just use keys the way they were designed, which is not how I use them. I guess nothing in this game is I use the way it was really designed. If I did this, you end up with this curve, which I'm not too fond of. Now, there we go. Now it's all aligned. I mean, it looks okay, but in general, these types of wall, and this is like way too tall. I wouldn't recommend doing this. In fact, let's bring it down just a little bit. There we go. All right, that's more like it. So instead of doing this, what I do is get rid of this. We have this this key right here, and with this option turned off, I select the segment using Move It, and then I copy, Control Z, and rotate it so that the fence points the way I want it. So let's say this way. And then what I do is just simply move this in place, try to have the fences aligned. Sometimes I can get them aligned, sometimes I can't. In this case, the fence asset doesn't go all the way to the edge, so you have that gap, which you can actually fill in with props. But you end up with this perfectly square angle that I think looks much nicer than having the round corner. At least if you want to mix things up, you definitely want to have different combinations of things. So in this case, I think this looks better. In fact, you can copy it again and rotate it 45-degree angles. By the way, I'm right-clicking every time I do this. You can rotate it 45-degree angles. Great feature, by the way. And you can place it here. So now you have this sort of diagonal thing going. And then I can just copy this back in. Paste it there. Voila. You have a nice shape that has 2 levels deep. In fact, you can, for example, let's say you had a road that came like this. So now you can go, well, definitely don't want to do that. I want to have terrain conforming on this road so that it sticks to the ground even though it's a little bit high up. But let's select the node, bring this down about that much. In fact, I want all these nodes to be perfectly aligned. There we go. In fact, this one, something like that. Just align everything to the upper key. There we go. Great. So I can just grab this and put it in place like that. So now you end up with this nice gentle road that sort of meets this edge right here. In fact, I could do this and grab another road segment. You need to turn Anarchy on for some of these things. Now we're gonna align this to this. By the way, I'm using Control H, which is the shortcut, but every time you see this white selection, it's because I'm using align heights. So I select this node, and now these two nodes are perfectly aligned to one another. I can just move this there. And I can keep going. Let's say I go this direction. I can keep going down too if I really wanted to. So maybe about there and about there. Something like that. And you can see how like all this is like gently going down. This might be a little bit too steep here. I can select this node and bring it up so that it looks a bit more realistic. You kind of have to, you know, go at this angle and make sure that everything sort of flows nicely. Cars can definitely climb this, this steep sort of grade here. Let me select this node once more, bring this up just a little bit. And you end up with a nice looking thing. Over here we have this gap. There's ways you can deal with that. For example, you can grab another ploppable, in this case, pavement. I think it's what it's called. And in this case, it matches the texture of the key. Alternatively, you would want to do something like this, just to sort of hide that spot. But then you end up with this extension of the fence, which may not be what you want. Another thing that I usually do in those cases is I grab the non-version of the key. Avania was clever enough to put like all the different versions of these things. So let me bring this to that level. So what you can do is just that. Sort of, I mean, I'm eyeballing all these things, by the way. For the most part, I suggest you do that as well. By the way, the C fighting that's happening there, if you select the nodes and you hold Alt and page down, it will nudge it by like a half a pixel. And then the two textures wouldn't be fighting for the Z axis. So you can get rid of that way. And then all you do is just grab a fence, ideally a fence that's not terrain conforming. So I've been using this one, for example. It's called the wrought iron fence. It's by, let's see, who's the author of this? By Geese or Guess. And if it's terrain conforming, it's just going to look totally weird. I'll show you in a second what that looks like. But in this case, you just want to do this. And so on. I mean, obviously, you might want to adjust the corners to make it all look nice and whatnot, but this is one way to do it. The problem with terrain-conforming fences, let me see, like this one, for example. This is vanilla. It's that immediately wants to come down, because like underneath this key, there's terrain that goes down. So, yeah, you see the very tip here and the other tip here. This doesn't look great, but that's sort of what happens. Are you going to build a district with more modern buildings? Already, yeah, the last two episodes, actually, the previous episode and the next one are related to that. I'll answer questions specifically about Night Owl after. So I'm going to be ignoring questions that are not related to the topic of the video just for now. But trust me, I'll get to those questions, or you can re-ask them at the end. Let's see. Okay. I've animated the fence for the key uses separate network. I don't. Oh, so this fence exists. Well, the problem is, like, I can't use networks for the fence either. Another thing that you could do if you don't want to use props. By the way, this whole city is mostly networks and not that many props. Actually, I can show you. We've only used 2,400 props so far. It's down here. There's a prop limit in case you didn't know. So you'd want to like try not to use a lot of props, but there's these networks that you can use. So for example, this not this one, but there's this stone wall. Actually, that it might have been that one. Yeah, it is this one. But there's other ones. For example, not this one. This one doesn't actually go. Can I actually plop it? Thanks. Some of these network walls are a little bit too thin. Not thin, just not tall enough. So if I raise them, they just float there. And I mean, in this case, it could be fine. I could just simply do something like this, bring it all the way up. Come on, up, there we go, great. And I can just do that. And instead of having a fence, you have just a network wall. Let me see if I can just disable that. It's kind of tricky selecting the nodes when they're so close to one another. That's the one downside of this. Can I unselect that top one? Really? No? Okay. I got it there for a second. Oh well, you know what I mean. I could just do this. And ideally now I'll be able to move the other one. Or not. That looks great. Just forget that ever happened. But you know what I mean. Like if you put enough time into this, you can have network walls. Now there's other fences. I don't know which one was Avania specifically using, but like there's other ones that actually are terrain conforming. Thank you, autosave. Actually, this saved me a lot. So it's annoying, but it's like, okay. My computer like totally turned off the other day. Like I think I was putting too much power on one single power strip, and that like really saved me. But like if you did this, it wouldn't work because this fence is terrain conforming, and I already explained how the terrain works inside of a key. So definitely don't necessarily want to use this unless you can think of a good, very specific use for this. But this is usually what I try to avoid. Now, let me see. So another thing that I do, instead of using keys, another technique that you can use, let's actually grab, let's grab this road. Actually, let's grab this road. Let's grab this road in here. So let's get rid of this key. So let's say we have this sort of distance here. In fact, let's duplicate this few more times, just enough that it doesn't like mess up that cliff. Something like that probably works. So let's say we have this. Let's get rid of. Actually, you know what? Let's do this in a different spot. Let's not mess. We have a whole map here to play with. We don't have to like conform to that one spot. There we go. So let's say we have these three roads that are kind of close to one another. Let me bring this up just so that they're all somewhat equidistant. This one is a little bit closer to this one, but you'll get the point. Can you use the fences on the road? Yes, you can. I mean, as long as you have Anarchy, which comes with fine road tools, if I'm not mistaken. You can do whatever you want. I mean, I can just have a fence that does this, and it will just go through everything. Let me see if I can delete it now. So tricky to delete things after you put them down, especially networks within networks. I wish like all the nodes were like really small, so that way you wouldn't have to they wouldn't get in your way. So another technique that I use quite a bit is this. I love these concrete walls, man. These are by Lost Gecko, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there we go. This is definitely a must-have. So what I do with these is... I need to turn Anarchy on, like I said a second ago. So I want to select this node right here, this node right here. Let's bring them up. In fact, now that they're two selected, I'm going to bring them to the height of that road right there. They're usually a little bit higher than I need, but what we can do is the following. Actually, I need to undo that. Sometimes you get that terrain to height error. The only way around that is if you simply lower your wall. There's really no other way around it, unfortunately. I wish some mod would like disable the height to high problem, because it's not really a problem. You see, now I'm stuck. There we go. Sometimes you just have to do that. And you can do this. And I just need another... Come on, man. Really? You're not going to let me do that? All right. So in this case, whenever that happens, I just like do this. Terraform a little bit to give it a bit more of a chance to not be clipping through the ground. So let's go back to the search, and now it works. So now that I have all these 4 nodes, I want to align them all to this one. And let's raise them up to the height of the upper road. So like this. And then we're just gonna bring them like this. And like that. So we basically created the shell of one of those keys that we just played with a second ago. And by selecting these nodes, I can actually, now that I have everything sort of aligned, I can bring them down using page down just enough that, you know, it would be kind of flushed against the sidewalk of this road. That's probably good enough. But obviously now we have this hole. So in order to avoid that, or unless you really like this, I mean, if this is what you like, you're done. In my case, I'm usually not a fan of that. So what I do is I grab ploppable grass, bring the brush size down, and I'll just try to position it there. Select the props. There we go. By the way, this is a great tool. It's these two work exactly the same way, even though this is the marquee selection. But if you check the elements that you want to select, it will like filter out the ones you don't. So for example, if I turn off nodes, I can now only select props. So if you have a lot of conflicting elements in the way, this is one way to solve that. All right, so we move this here, right about there, just to align it with the wall. It's kind of clipping on this side. Let me bring it in. And now using Alt page down, just go 1 or 2 levels, enough that it doesn't go through the road. Let me bring this back there. And now I just copy and paste this. Always using this follow terrain, turn it off, because it's... I honestly, 99% of the time I play with Cities Skylines, I have this option turned off. Just so you know. It's it gets more in the way than what it helps. And now, just move this node enough. So now you have a perfect box of grass, basically. You can even select these nodes right here. If this wall might be a little bit too tall, so usually what I do is just bring this right up to this like line, this edge line here. There we go. So this looks a bit more realistic. And now on here, what you can do is you can just, let's say, grab a tree. Can I not grab a tree? Yeah, there we go. Now, trees, the problem with trees is that you're going to need a mod that I don't have, that I rarely use, which is called a tree snapping. If I had tree snapping, I could raise trees up and down. But since I don't have that, what ends up happening is, let me unselect that. Trees are terrain conforming, sort of. So they try to follow the terrain. You can actually see it here. Let's see if I can position the camera in a nice angle. I'm moving it with my arrow keys right now. So you can see how the trees is like sort of going up and down. Large trees like this one will probably look okay. But if you have a tiny tree like this one, for example, this is what it looks like when you put it at the top, but this is what it looks like when you put it at the bottom of this hill, which is nice. It looks like a nice big bush, but it's no longer a tree, it's a bush. If you had tree snapping, you could raise this tree up and just have it flush, or at least at the same level as the props underneath. In this case, we have some clipping of these props through the road because, you know, I'm eyeballing things, but that's easily solvable by doing that. So this is another way of, you know, of having multiple tiered levels in your city that don't necessarily require the use of keys. All right, let's see if chat has any questions about this. How can I delete a fence from /wall from a building? I saw it was possible. Sorry for my English. Your English is fine, sir. So let me see. I think you're talking about this. It's kind of slightly off topic, but I'll talk about it anyways. It's useful information. Let's put down this school right here. So I'm guessing you're talking about like a fence like this. So this is just a vanilla school. You're gonna need a mod for that. So the mod that I use is called Prop It Up. So you open up Prop It Up, you go into the props tab, and then you click on the building. And now in here, where it says included props, you have absolutely every prop that belongs to this building. So in the case of this fence, you just uncheck industrial fence. It's gonna ask you, hey, are you sure you wanna delete this from the elementary school? I mean, it says you cannot undo this action. You can if you edit the text files that the game creates or the mod creates. Obviously, you can't do that in game, but you can actually bring this. It's not you're deleting this forever, just so you know. So you click yes, and now the fences are gone. Usually, on most buildings, what I would do is just remove the fences and the parking spaces. So I'm gonna remove these parking spaces, the handicap one, and I'm also gonna remove the other one. The rest I'm okay with for the most part. Sometimes these lamps need to go. So street lamp 2, boom, gone. Now every time, like once you do that, if you put another one of these schools, it will retain all those features. Sorry, or retain the alterations you made, so you're no longer going to have the fences or anything like that. Hopefully that was what you wanted. If not, let me know, and I can try re-answering that. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Have you thought about changing building characteristics about capacity to make it more realistic to the site that you have built? I mean, in terms of population, like the size of the city is actually pretty accurate. I'm using the realistic population mod, so I think, I mean, this is a small city. 10,000 people living in the city makes sense. The problem is, this wouldn't be a realistic city in real life, as it is, because it's obviously missing all the suburbs. So once I add all the suburbs, the population is going to go up, and it's going to be more realistic. But only these buildings and this population is fine. And honestly, I really don't care about population. So yeah. Let's see. How do you remove parking lots that are terrain conforming? Like, how do you remove those parking lots from the high school that you started? Okay, yeah, I guess I literally just covered that. Maybe that was a little bit delayed. When I try to use Surface Painter, it never appears in my tools, even when I enable it. This is Surface Painter. If you don't have this option here, you haven't subscribed to the mod, or you didn't enable in the content manager. Usually, if you did both things and it's still not working, just try to go to the Steam settings and verify the game cache, or like literally unsubscribe and resubscribe to it. Sometimes, it takes a couple tries for mods to work. It's rare that's not a thing that happens often, but give that a shot. But Surface Painter works just fine. Okay, one more quick technique, and I'll show you other examples here. So I've been using this asset called retaining walls. These are by Ryuichi Kaminogi. Man, I'm probably butchering this guy's name. Sorry, but this asset looks great. These are some like Japanese retaining walls. And they're great, and you can use them for a lot of things. So basically, they behave the same way the other networks do. So you can select two nodes like this, have this be aligned like that, and you just present it right next to the your roads. Now you can even do something like this. Just grab them, put it right up against the edge. In fact, we can even bring this just down like so. And we can try that other technique that I showed you a second ago, where we move the road just, just barely enough close to the upper road, and then you end up with this like very like seamless transition between the different roads, which is awesome. I think this looks freaking great. Obviously, you end up with this patch of grass. I could move this even closer, but you start seeing those shadowy things, which at this level is not too terrible. In fact, it will even add some detail to your road, to your sidewalk in this case. It's not too bad. But if you are not a fan of that, or if it's too extreme, you can pull it back just enough. And this gap, you can just bring Surface Painter and just, paint it. Just paint the whole thing. Surface Painter creates those like tiny gaps here and there when you do this. A solution to that problem is to get the brushes. These are like, I think this is like one of the first mods or custom assets that ever came out for Cities Skylines. It's by RWBFX UK. Just search for like concrete brushes and it will come up. And this is just a building. So if I turn Anarchy on, I can just place this here, and it will fill in the blanks, just like so. And you end up with like a perfect looking road. In fact, you can just grab these two nodes, maybe move them. Come on, what's happening? Did I get up? I think I got the camera mod thing that allows you to move freely around, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. In any case, that's another way of doing it. This retaining wall, by the way, has a fenced version that looks really nice too. And not only that, you can just bring it down like this, so you can theoretically have another road sort of coming this way. Let me move all these trees from here. Might want to extend this a little bit beyond, so something like that. Things are like very well aligned now. We can bring that down. Let me quickly restart the music here. There we go. So you could do something like this. And this is obviously coming down. You can have this meet with this other road. Let's see. Extra landscaping tool mod doesn't work with industry. Is this the one you're using? Is this the one you're using better? No, I'm actually using that one. This is extra landscaping tools right here, and I have industries enabled, so must be something weird going on your end. The one I don't have is more beautification. That one sort of stopped working properly after Park Life, so yeah, that wasn't. With Find It, you don't really need more beautification anymore. Puff, thank you for your kind super chat. If you have any questions, I'll answer 100% of the super chats. I'll do my best. Even if I'm talking about something else, I'll make sure to come back and answer questions. So, Puff, if you have a question that you absolutely want me answered, feel free to do it. I'll keep an eye on your name tag. Let's see. Okay. Couple more things that I want to show you here, and then we'll we'll take questions. Because, I mean, honestly, what I've been doing, it's mostly a combination of the same things. What happened to my graves here? I had a whole bunch of graves. Weird. I need to check this. So... yeah, okay, so another technique here, real quickly. So let's say you have... let me get rid of this stupid fence. Did I get rid of it? Yes. And also this one. Let's put this back together. Sound like that. Great. Awesome. So let's say you want this to sort of follow this road. Let's assume this road goes down. So let's bring it here. All the way down. But at this point, you end up with a super tall wall. Let me actually rotate the camera so that we get some decent frame rate. A solution to this will be to literally grab this node at the end, stretch it all the way down, and just lower it like that. And it's, you know, it's okay. This is fine. But sometimes you don't want a slope here. And in real life, you wouldn't have, like, so I usually, whenever I see these keys, like, I imagine people walking through here. In fact, you could have a pedestrian path happening through here. So, for example, here, let me quickly grab one of these Park Life ones. By the way, in terms of DLCs, Park Life is really awesome. I like it way more than Industries, just so you know. What just happened there? Can I not? I know I can race you up. Ooh, it's not happy about. Oh, because I think it's just like. I don't know what's happening there. It's kind of glitching. Oh, it's like reversing the key. Okay, so sometimes this happens, but not much you can do about that. You can actually maybe do this. There you go. As long as you keep moving things, eventually they will work. So theoretically, you can have this happen like so. Let's assume that that is the way you wanted things. All glitchy and stuff. Something like that. You can bring this up like so. And maybe this up like that. You end up with a glitchiness over there, but at least you have a wall and a pedestrian path. Let me actually move these props right here. So everything is like fenced and nice. You can cover this with pluggable asphalt as I show you earlier in the stream, but this is just an idea. I haven't done this yet in this city, but what I have done is I always assume that this could be something that will look nice for people walking. But if you have such a giant slope, it wouldn't necessarily look nice. So what I do is I grab this same segment, this last segment here, copy it, put it right next to it, and now I lower it to a distance that looks reasonable. So I can just move these two together. And then you can grab one of the many stair props that are in the workshop. For example, these ones are from Beard Monkey, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, these are Armestos. There we go. But I like this one. This one is the one I use the most, also by Armesto. I think this is the first one he actually made, which is obviously designed for being alongside the water because you have all that gritty, like, look about it. But it's also kind of like the perfect width of the key. So what I do is I just move them down like that. And if I can select this, let me just select props only. Come on. It's kind of tricky to select sometimes. There we go. So you want to bring them right about there, rotate it so that the angle matches the key, and then bring it back up enough to hide the texture. And this is an interesting way of like having like tiered keys that might look a little bit more interesting. Can I do... I don't know which node is what. Yeah, okay, that's good. So I can do that, and then I can come back here right about there, I would say, and then bring the whole thing down. And this is another way that I've been using to sort of have a bit more detail and have different levels, because not everything will be like on two perfect levels forever. Things come, you know, up and down all the time. So it's not a bad idea to try things like that. Obviously, people won't necessarily use this one key like this. You could have like one of those invisible paths, but and I've used them a couple times, but I feel like Sims will just sort of clip between things, so you can do something like this. Obviously, you won't see much effect right now, but at least this will work. This will actually make this an active path. By the way, these are the invisible paths by Ako. You can find them in the workshop as well. And let me show you some examples on how you can combine all these things. So here, for example, we have all these keys. There are some round keys every once in a while. You can combine the walls. Let me actually get rid of the grid. There we go. So for example, this road sort of comes here. Wow, the frame rate is really bad. Sorry about that. So you can have this road sort of come around here and then go over a bridge. And you have this tiny segment of key, the stair prop, and then you have a few more. These are all like manually placed props. There isn't really an active path or anything like that. And also we have the concrete wall with the props, with the ploppable grass on top of it. And of course, trees and bushes that sort of clipped around. So there's all kinds of combinations that you can do. Here, for example, I didn't spend too much time meeting these two keys together, so I just left this the spot like this. I could have tweaked this, put some props to sort of hide this imperfection, but you know, there's also imperfections in real life as well. So yeah. Let's see. All right. So the next thing that I want to do, what are my PC specs? strictoster.com/specs. You can find all of my specs there. Let me show you a few more examples. By the way, yeah, all the terrain conforming stuff that I've been doing here also applies if you do. Here, let's get rid of this bottom one. Whoa, that actually, Okay, now I've like the wall is now hidden, so I don't know where it is. But what you can do also is grab, let's say this. Let's bring it all the way down. This park life path, not the vanilla paths. The vanilla paths are terrain conforming, meaning that you can't raise them up or down. They just are what they are. But this one's supposedly. Wait, what's happening here? No, this is not the one I wanted. This is the one I wanted. So you can have these two. It would work with all the other ones, by the way. But actually, let's see. I wish that you can like upgrade these to like a different kind. Let's do the power line ones, just for extra detail here. In fact, let's rotate it so that the power lines are on the other side. So you can do this. Align that to that and bring this down enough to where it would make sense to you. They're pretty glitchy sometimes, but you can get away with that by just nudging things around a little bit, like so, for example. So now what we want is basically get rid of all these surface painter stuff, like that. And this is another way to basically have these things sort of meet with your walls and have a bit more detail. I've been doing this quite a bit and in this park that I did a couple episodes ago. So let me zoom out here and show you. There we go. So here's a whole combination of things. This one in particular, for example, is just the retaining walls as well as a bridge version of the, so here, let me show you real quick. Take this apart. This is actually what's happening in the distance. Obviously, you end up with a fence on both sides. You can't really have a fence on one side and just nothing on the other. That's not a thing. You could sort of do that with keys, but it will be a bit tricky. This is what I basically did here, which I think it looks pretty good. And obviously, I'm combining that with this tiered keys that they sort of slope down and meet at street level around here. And then this whole mountain was pretty much terraformed using all these pedestrian paths that I showed you a second ago. Also combining them with rocks and bushes and trees. You should go watch this episode for actual for actual tips on how to do something like this. But that's pretty much the magic behind it. And let me see. Here's another good example. So parking lots. I've been using parking lots a lot in places where there's two roads that sort of come too close to one another, but there's terrain differences. What? Oh, wait, was this asset updated? Really? This didn't used to look like that, like yesterday when I used them. No, I think I used a different one. Oh yeah, that's a different one. Interesting. But yeah, so one thing I've been doing a lot is in the middle of blocks. So for example, like this, where we have this like lower road and this sort of upper road, and then we have a gap with all the buildings here. I usually put down like one of these parking lot rows and then just put down a few more parking spaces. Obviously you want this to be perfectly aligned, and even if when you do have perfectly aligned nodes, you end up with kind of missing. Can I actually wait? Am I selecting the right thing? I want nodes only. So I want this node. Yes, that's the node I want. And this one. So these two nodes are perfectly aligned, but now because of these roads being so close to the parking spaces, sometimes it's kind of glitchy. If I move this out of the way, it will probably get it fixed. Or if I actually bring this down just a little bit, sometimes, again, it's like one of those things that the more you like nudge it in place, the more it will work. But this is another strategy that I use quite a bit. I think the last thing that I want to touch, and then I'll answer questions. Here, by the way, another use of the terrain. Having such a big cliff, which is almost unrealistic because it's stretching the texture too much. But in order to sort of cut this in half, if you really need this high difference, is to use one of these retaining walls, and I've sort of sunken them on the edges so that it sort of flows nicely alongside the thing. But the last thing I wanted to sort of talk about is, let's go back to our demo here. So let's assume that you have this road right here. And buildings are a problem because buildings want to be flat. So let's go to this menu here. Actually, let's go. I guess this doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter. I want these French buildings. So this is easy, right? This road right here is level. Slope too steep. I guess it's not that easy. Let's put a few of these houses and then we'll copy paste them. So I guess we have some. These look more like German houses, actually. Let's do that. I think there was maybe UK. No. Oh, they're in this menu, I think. Yeah, there we go. All right. Just want some like larger houses so that this will make some sense. Some of these are vanilla, some are custom made. So what do you do when you have a road that goes at an angle? How do you align the two nodes perfectly? Is there a hotkey for it? There's a hotkey, and there is a menu. So you select the two nodes, for example, these two, and then you click on Align Heights, and then the cursor turns white, and then you just click, for example, here, and it will like align everything perfectly. Or you can do Control H, and it will also enable that option. So let's select this house, and we're gonna rotate it, turn on snapping to grid. There we go, and we'll put it there. So now this wall and this road is aligned, but the garage is kind of like a car can't really climb that height. So what we do is we select the building, and then we use page down and lower it down. And, you know, this is sort of a limitation, and I actually talked about this in the next episode of Night Owl that should be out very soon. I mean, it's already recorded and rendered and uploaded. It's actually available for patrons. But if you do this, you end up with a cut garage, which is not great. In some cases, some more extreme cases, you end up with cut windows because like the angle of the road keeps coming down. So this is the only way I was able to find to make this look nice. So let's grab another house here and put it down and bring it down like this. So now the door is aligned with the sidewalk, which is the thing that makes the most sense. But like, let's see, let's grab this one. This one I think is going to be more extreme. So let's put it right next to it. This is how I basically put every single one of these houses, just so you know. So we bring this down, try to align the door to the floor, like so. That actually doesn't look so bad because now the game is filling with a default brick wall, everything else around it. But let's actually grab a building that will be more extreme. Usually these sort of horizontal buildings are the ones that give me the most headaches. Let's just put it there. Let's align it to this one. And now, well, I guess the terrain here wasn't too steep, but let me see. Let's actually get rid of these two like that. So let's say you align that door like so. You end up with these things being kind of clipped. In fact, there's a couple windows that are like totally gone. So this is something that I'm willing to like let go, like just have it look as it is. As long as the door is aligned to the sidewalk, the rest of the building being like totally sunk into the ground, it's not a big deal, I don't think. Or at least it kind of sucks, don't get me wrong, but at least things look realistic in terms of people being able to enter here. So that's one way to address this. You're probably going to see a lot of this here, maybe. Like, for example, here. Can I actually zoom in closer? Yeah. Whereas this front window is kind of clipped, but the door is indeed aligned to the sidewalk, so that's at least what, you know, good enough for me. And talking about buildings, another technique that I've been using a lot is grabbing the same building and duplicating it. So here, let me go back to my test area. So let's grab, I think it's modern. Yeah, it's this one. So you can have something like this. Usually when there's like a terrain difference, what I do is just bring this down like so. But you can also, if you don't have two different height versions of the building, let's see, I think it's if I do office. Should have grabbed that class. Oh, here it is. So this one, it's vanilla. Terrain too steep. Great. White Walker Night King, thank you for your donation. Thank you for the hours of entertainment. Oh man, you're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed. There we go. So here, same thing. Door, let's just align the door-ish. You know, it's not perfect. But here, since this building is like kind of boxy looking on all sides, what I usually do is just click this, raise it up by like 1 floor, and now you end up with a much more interesting, larger footprint sort of building. And the game thankfully creates all these extensions of the building with these brick walls, which also look pretty nice, at least in the European theme that I'm at. So in this case, because they look, there's like a different shade of color. Here's a quick tip. If you get the painter mod, you can just click here, and then, well, basically you can paint the building any color you want. At least some of the textures. I don't know exactly how it picks the textures to color, but if you want to match these buildings, you can have it blue like that. In this case, I guess I want them both white, and now they're matching. But I just made it enough, or align it in terms of height enough, so that the windows and the floors sort of align with one another. And I created a much more interesting building that way. All right, let's see. Anything else? I think that's it. I mean, I can show you all kinds of different combinations of things. So, for example, here we have the road, and then we have that thin concrete wall with the ploppable grass, just like I showed you a few minutes ago. We have the keys here with the pedestrian path sort of attached to it. It's in bridge mode, but then I have all these sort of spokes connecting to it. So even though it has a fence on the inside, which normally it wouldn't have, like you really don't need another fence on this side, but it doesn't look so bad that it wouldn't make sense. Yeah, I think that does it, at least for what I had planned here. Do you have any tips on how to get straight coastlines to build harbors, etc.? I think the easiest way to do that is to literally grab a road. So let's say, for example, let's say we want a harbor like this. I just go and create a road. You obviously need Anarchy to be able to build on water. You do that. You select all your nodes. You make sure to align them. Let me pause the game real quick. So now I have like a perfectly straight road that goes into the water. And then you can just grab, I don't know, the docks. You can use my docks, at least just for testing things. We're just going to use my docks, but you could use Ronix's docks as well. Turn on Anarchy and bring this down like so. Something like that. Bring it up enough so that it gets flushed up against that thing, and then you put another one of these like this. This is how I would build a dock nowadays, pretty much. And I'm like going really fast. I would probably spend some more time tinkering with things. I don't know if I have any boats. I don't have any boats or ships. I do have some ships. I guess I could just do that. And then you basically do more of these things. In fact, if you want, let's say you want a train connection to your harbor, you basically do the same thing. You grab that. I would probably align it to this road that we already built, and you could just wait, what happened here? Oh, I think I had this selected. Never mind. You just do this. Like so. And you can even use maybe, I don't know, surface painter here to cover this, or you can use decals or whatnot. You can even raise this like a pixel. I think these dogs are not perfectly aligned. That's why a part of it is showing and a different part is not. In fact, let's get that all fixed up. There we go. So now everything's aligned, and I can grab this. And you end up with a train connection to your dock, just like so. Wow, thank you for your donation, Ju. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? I know I asked that before, but again, I know you're a regular here, so thank you so much for your generosity. Let's see. Do you know any mods that relate to government? I want to build a city-state in my plot of land. I don't know. I think there is a mod that allows you to like do more governmental things, but I'm not sure. There might be something, but it probably won't be like super detailed. Like there's games that are more related to that than Cities Skylines. How's the air quality? I see the smoke plume from my place. Actually, let me actually look at my window. Yeah, it looks a little bit smoky. It was I noticed that when I left the office yesterday. There's, by the way, for those of you who don't know, there's like a massive fire. I mean, there's multiple fires in California, but one that's like maybe 30 minutes from where I live, and it's kind of like collapsing everything, and it's near Malibu, which is not great. Tons of houses have been destroyed. Well, what's that painter mod? Someone is asking on Twitch. This is called Surface Painter. You can paint these surfaces, which are like the game default settings. You can change the textures. It's whatever textures are in your map theme. You just paint them like that, and it sort of aligns to the underlying grid, so you can get like perfect like nice flowing edges. You get like sharp edges that align to the underlying grid. Will this be upload? Just tuning in. Yeah, this is going to be slightly edited. I mean, just going to chop the first part with the countdown and the intro and all that, and then it's going to live in my channel forever. So yeah. I think we're done with the terraforming part specifically. So if you have more questions, this is the time to ask them. I haven't played this game in a while. What are your top mods? Funny that you ask, because I did a whole live stream on my top mods and how to use them. Here, I'll post the link so that you don't have to like look it up while we wait for more questions. I'm gonna paste the link for you in the chat, David. And now that I'm at it, I'm just going to paste it on Twitch as well. I need a bot to like do all that for me. What future plans do you have for Nidal? Like airport, harbor, theme park? I might do an airport. I'm not, and if I do, I'll probably do more like an airstrip than a full airport. I mean, if I do an airport, it's going to be like the size of the one I did for Sinu. So it's not going to be like huge. Linenich, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you for all these tips. You're very welcome, sir. In terms of harbor, yes, I'm planning on having a harbor maybe like near this industrial area. We're going to have more than one industrial area, most likely. Maybe even around here. So we're probably going to have multiple harbor areas. I'm also planning on having like a kind of a castle / chateau sort of place in an undisclosed location. And then for the most part, it's just expanding the city. I want tons of suburbs. Not tons of suburbs, but like I want to sort of fill in this whole area. That's kind of what my current plan is. It's been proving to take a bit longer to make progress. The first few episodes, I feel like I was like, yeah, like just doing a lot of things, but as you start adding details, things sort of slow down. Did you ever save corrupted? Did you ever have your save corrupted all the work? Not really, no. First of all, I don't have one single save. Like basically, I generate like 5 or 6 different save games per episode. So if one is corrupted, worst that could happen is like I lose like an hour of work. And I always have autosave on, which is annoying because it freezes your game, but I highly encourage you to have autosave on. The first time around it takes forever to save, but like the next few, like within your session, let me actually just follow a tram or something in the meantime so that we get some nice detailed looking aesthetics. There we go. While I answer questions. Nidal should be pronounced Nidal. No, you're wrong. Nidal is not that Nidal you're thinking of. This is like a totally different city. It's just the name, it's spelled the same, but it's a different place. I have a question. Which video that you made are you most proud of? Ooh, every single video that I make, I'm proud of. Actually, I have this thing where like it's not that I hate things immediately after I do them, but they get old pretty quickly. Like I feel like my latest video is like my best video kind of thing. The one that I usually rewatch every once in a while is the Ocampo cinematics. I think that project sort of came out great as we look at buildings and not the tram that we're actually following. Let me rotate the camera here. There we go. And then the ski resort video that I made. Basically, those two videos that I made in Spanish that I just did cinematics for are the ones that I kind of like the most. How do you get that water looking so cool? That's the map theme. I have the Rainhold map theme, which is it's made by Hadiz. You have to like support her on her Patreon page to be able to get it. But there's a lot of like amazing map themes that are free in the Steam Workshop that you can get that also have amazing water. One of them being Cedar Valley 4K, which I also highly recommend. Do you have any cities YouTubers you like to watch? I used to watch a lot more. I feel like every YouTuber you'll ask this question will answer the same thing. It's just lack of time. But I'm subscribed to, besides obviously Jay and Vlogs, or Beast Wheelhausen and Vlogs, I'm subscribed to Crumbs McGee, I'm subscribed to Taser, I'm subscribed to Press, I'm subscribed to $2.20. Oh man, and a lot more that I can't even. Neguchi Maruyama, Palmstein recently. I've been following his stuff. And seriously, like another like 10 more that I can't even think of right now. But yeah, I do watch a lot of Cities Skylines every once in a while. Which project did you like more, Arrowhead or FPS? FPS was more of a technical challenge than aesthetically oriented. Arrowhead was like interesting. I wish that I could redo Arrowhead with the mods and the assets that we have now. I think it would have come out much more nicer than what it is. But they were done at different times, so it's kind of hard to compare one another. Can you make the road with the trams on the inside? I think that was asked before. I didn't quite. Careful, B-School hasn't saying in the chat. No, FPS was obviously the best project I've ever done. Oh, hi Beefa, how's it going, sir? Can you make the road with the trams on the inside so that when you're making a roundabout, the trams don't get in the way of the cars? Well, so the trams go on the outside because it's ride, height, and driving. So there's really not much I can do about that, unfortunately. Like if you're talking about exactly what's happening on the screen right now, I can't switch the tram tracks to the other side. That's not a possibility. I feel like watching the stream is gonna ruin the FPS magic the video has. Yeah. By the way, at the beginning of this episode, I said there's going to be a surprise. So for those of you who actually stay until the very end of this video, you're gonna get to see some interesting things that only a few people have seen. Everyone will see that soon, but you guys because you're cool. You're gonna see that earlier. Let's see. Ooh, we have another super chat. JP4 says, thank you for the content. I've learned quite a bit. You're very welcome. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'll be happy to answer them. You should do another Arrowhead using the new props. Would love to see it a second time around. I'm not a huge fan of repeating things, so I don't know. We might do like another desert thing, but probably not based in like in the southwest of the US. I don't know. Maybe another kind of desert. That'd be interesting. That's a biome that I haven't touched yet. Which part of the city have you enjoyed creating? Actually, the part where we're in. Let me zoom out. Let me actually pause the game. So this is like the modern area of Night Owl, and I don't know. I love how this one sort of came out because there's, first of all, it's the most detailed area of the city. I've spent the most time adding details here, and I don't know. It's just cool looking. There's all kinds of different levels. We have the tram sort of going around. We have parking lots and roads and even some like overpasses like this one on this corner. It's just all kinds of crazy things happening here, and I think this area looks great. In fact, in the next episode of Night Owl, I've sort of expanded this a little bit more and added a few more details. So yeah, it's happening. Let me zoom back in so that we can follow this tram. The keys are just beautiful there. It's just perfect. Yeah, thank you. I think that was a suggestion from a viewer in one of the streams. So I can't take full credit for that, but I'm glad they suggested that because it does look really, really cool. I guess we're bouncing against these buildings. Zoom out just slightly. Let's see. I'm also reading Twitch, by the way. So Twitch, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Though YouTube seems to be the most active. Also, I have to wrap the stream in about 10-ish minutes. So here's your chance. You can't edit the terrain on console, right? I've never played any of the console versions of Cities Skylines, so I can't say for sure, but I don't think you can do much of anything cool in the console versions of the Cities Skylines. Don't tell Paradox I said that. I think though the DLCs for console are a bit more. They have they pack a few more things than the DLCs for PC, so there's that. Why do some roundabouts look as they are in the UK? Those arrows go in different directions. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of comments about that. The thing is, like, that's the only asset that I was able to find that had that just had that size and that look. I love how it looks. Basically, that's a typical case of form over function. The roundabout actually goes the other way around, even though the arrows are pointing in reverse. I need to figure that out, but it's not. I just like that asset a lot. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Have you ever tried making an East European town, like post-Soviet blocks, lots of path and weird angle roads? I've never tried, but that'd be cool to try at some point. Probably not. I don't think the city would transition well into that, but it will be interesting to tackle. I've been getting a lot of requests for that. But I mean, honestly, we still have a lot to do here in Night Owl. It's going to take a while to complete this project from what I can gather here. I definitely want to do another stream where just like filling some of the details in the gaps that are laying around the entire city. So, are you planning on making a series with Industries DLC soon? No, I'm not. No, I have zero plans to do that. I'm not a huge fan of whatchamacallit, the management side of cities. Like, I use very little of what the actual game or like the whole simulation layer that the game has. Like, I just want cars to drive around and people to walk around and trams to follow a line, and that's about it. Oh, another super chat from White Walker Night King. You see Bombombi's second map build with the Tide mod. I have not seen that. There's a Tide mod? I didn't even know there was a Tide mod. What does the Tide mod do? Is that like... I mean, I'm guessing it raises the water up and down. Is that what happens? That actually is kind of an interesting... I'll check that video out for sure. Please build London. There is such a contrast from the old and the new there. There's a lot of London-inspired things in here. Like, for example, this area right here. Where is it? Here. This little roundabout was inspired by the 7 Dials in London. I probably won't do like a whole copy of a city ever again. I've only done that once, and it was fine, but I felt like I was a bit trapped trying to follow the city, so I'm probably not going to do that again. So sorry. But I love London. I've been to London many times, and a whole bunch of inspiration, not just this roundabout here, but like a whole bunch of different areas were also inspired in London and the UK in general as well. What mods do I need to download to start detailing a city? Again, check out, just on YouTube, search essential mods and tips, and you're gonna find like a 2-hour live stream I did on that. It literally goes through the basic mods that you need and how you use them. And there's like timestamps in the description, so you can just like skip through the different topics. You don't have to watch the whole thing in one sitting, unless you really want to. I think most people actually do want to do that, but just saying, if you want to reference that in the future, you could do that. Are you a professional designer? I am. If by professional I mean that I'm getting paid to design things. I'm an interface designer. I basically do interaction design for a software company. We do software for the music industry. You need to do a live stream on how you make videos. Yeah, I can do that, actually. There is... I did go over a little bit of that on my second channel on my rebranding process, but I should probably do a video on how I actually make videos. So yeah, I'll consider doing that. I have a few other things in my priority list, but I'll definitely get to that at some point. Are you American? I am not American. I'm from Argentina. I do live in the US, but I'm originally from Argentina. Are you planning on building a Soviet district, or is it already built? It's been a while since I watched your channel. Well, shame on you, sir. How dare you? We have some like Soviet-looking-ish buildings, like this sort of eyesore tower that we have right here in the middle of the city. I mean, to me, it's not really an eyesore. It actually looks like really cool, because this is something that you see sometimes in cities, having like all these like nice, beautiful buildings, and then just like a brutalist building in the middle. I don't know, it just keeps a character. So this is, I would say, is the closest thing to like Soviet sort of architecture. I'm also not super fluent in Soviet architecture either, so I may be like not super accurate with my descriptions. Also, this whole area, it's more like 50s sort of modern, which I associate. This is more like Art Deco, I would say, but like this one is more brutalist / Soviet looking, in my opinion, but I may be wrong. Are you planning on a 50s, 60s district or a more modern green cities like district? I guess this will be the more, like everything sort of around the station is more like 50s, 60s looking. And in terms of like green cities, like more like, well, green stuff, this will be the place. So like modern, like gentrified style type buildings with tons of solar panels, like this one's right here. I need to add more solar panels. In fact, I was thinking adding solar panels to the churches, because they have a ton of like roof footprint. B Schoolhouse says your bridge needs a bit of an arch to the deck. Wait, what is that mean? Like which bridge? There's tons of bridges. You talking about your bridge? Like this Bay Bridge? What is the best way to lay out your districts? I don't use if by districts you mean like actually like the actual district tool, this one right here. I haven't done districts yet. I need to start naming some of these districts after the people on Patreon, because I've been promising that for a while and haven't done it yet. I definitely want to do that on a live stream, not on this one though, but now that the city is big enough, I can start naming things. I didn't want to do it before because, you know, obviously, like I don't know where a neighborhood will end or begin. But in terms of laying things out, like I don't know. I just play by eye, basically, or by ear, or by eyes and ears. I just go. Not really sure how to answer that one. Sorry. You can feel free to re-ask it in a different way. I love the condos in the modern area. Really nice looking. You should make an area with a lot of crime. So you know that's I mean there's crime here. That's one of those things. Like already have so much police everywhere that's kind of impossible to have a lot of crime. I think this one has crime mainly because it can't be reached by the police. Maybe is that what it is? I don't know why this one is reporting having a lot of crime. But we have it's like one of those things that I was saying earlier. Like I'm not really playing by the basic mechanics. Like I pretty much have all kinds of power plants hidden and water pumps and police stations. So like all those metrics are kind of irrelevant in the city. I just play for the looks. How do you keep your roads from being too wavy? Oh man, that's a whole thing. I mean, this is probably not a good example, but one thing you can try is toggle snapping. So, for example, let's say you had. Let me turn it off first. Let's say you had this. This doesn't look great, so you could like do something like this, for example, and do that. It takes a while. Basically, you want the tangents, these dashed lines, to sort of match the angle of the adjacent roads. So if you do something like this, things sort of flow much more nicely. I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but another thing you can try is toggling snapping, and this will actually snap to those tangents for you, like that. It will create a perfect seamless transition, or it will just create a straight line. Like so. Something like that. And then it goes back to the way it was. So just a combination of that and just basically trial and error. It's really how do you achieve things. Can you build a city similar to Venice for the future? Or I'm guessing you're saying in the future? I don't know. I've never been to Venice. I live near Venice, California, but not actual Venice. Oh, hey, Skiveth, how's it going? Or oh, you can press Alt while you do this? Really? Ooh, there you go. Nice tip. That's a nice shortcut. Yeah, I guess you can press Alt and it like temporarily toggles snapping. That's pretty good. Any tips for inspiration for cities? Someone on Twitch is asking. Google Maps, it's the way to go. Google Maps and Street View. Just if you don't know where to start, just literally go on Google Maps, pick a city that you maybe visited or that you like to visit, and just look at it from above and try to copy it. And I would just say that like 30 minutes in, as you're trying to like replicate this design, you're gonna start adding your own spin to things, and it will come up, like your ideas are going to start flowing in your head. At least that's how it works for me whenever I ran out of ideas. Ever thought about a city all along a river? Something like Porto in Portugal. I haven't, no. Actually, what does that Porto look like? Now I'm curious. I think this was asked before. I'm gonna switch monitors in a second. Let me actually get that. So let's take a look at this real quick. I mean, this looks kind of like Nidal in the sense that there's a river, but like I thought you meant like the whole city sort of, it's on the river and not spread inland. I mean, Nidal is going to look like this once we're done. Obviously, this is like way bigger, but I mean, having the city sort of alongside the coast is kind of what I'm trying to do right now. Let me switch back to the game here. Like if you look at like the city's just going to be more expanded towards this side as well, and we're probably going to have a few more houses on both sides, so it's just going to be sitting alongside the coast a little bit as we move towards this side. You should add a dedicated tram line going steep uphill. Yeah, I mean, so this one is already pretty steep. We're having that discussion the other day when we did the FBS live stream at Fluxus. There's this tram line in Utah, in Salt Lake, that climbs up the hill towards the university, and it's pretty high. In fact, this one is the thing is, like, trains are not great for climbing up steep hills, so you gotta have, I mean, trams are a little bit better than regular trains, but still, like, you want to have some sort of gentle gradient. This one, actually, now that I look at it, I might need to bring this down a bit because it looks a little bit too steep for what it is. But I mean, yeah, this is as steep as it will go. In fact, let's just go real quick here to this other side. I think this one. Just closely follow this tram here. What is this guy doing? Wait, what? I don't know what just happened there. This guy just suddenly stopped. You should take the airport inspiration from Trondheim, Norway. All right, I'll take a look at that. All right, last couple of questions, and then I'll have to wrap this one up because there's a big soccer game that I need to go watch. Are you using a different tram model going uphill? No, they're all the same model. I have like this Melbourne ones. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. They have like 2-3 different designs that they just spawn automatically. Is there any Nidal lore that you can share with us? There is zero Nidal lore. I was never too much into the whole lore thing. I know like many of you really enjoyed that, but honestly, I'm not. You're barking at the wrong tree here. Why doesn't Flux upload anymore? He will upload. He's just busy with school and producing international live streams. Have you thought about changing the speed limits on the tram roads? I've never thought of that, but maybe I should. I don't know. I kind of feel like the speed here is pretty okay. Does it say which speed this is going? It doesn't. We're clearly making a negative profit here, or actually going at a loss. Actually, no, we're averaging. It's good. Let's take a look at that real quick because I never bother with any of this, but it's kind of nice to be able to take a look at these things every once in a while. Where do I don't even know where to look for. Like, are we making a profit here or what? Like, what's happening? I think I need to go into this menu, right? No. Is it city statistics? Look at the population changes. It's not here, I don't think. I mean, the whole city's making a profit, so that's good. But I guess, yeah, this one's losing money. I guess we're losing money. It doesn't matter. It's all subsidized. Can we get a look at the city at night? Yeah, you absolutely can. So this is what the city looks like at night. Let me go into full screen mode. So like eerie in the distance. Question, tips on making a decent looking low residential neighborhoods on slope terrain without weird backyards. Without weird backyards. So the way I was able to do that, here, let me show you the closest thing. So first of all, steep it's kind of tricky no matter what you do. So what I was able to do is just basically clip buildings with one another. And sometimes if you feel like you can put some trees in here, this I would consider pretty steep, as you can see from these entrances here. But these are so close to one another that you really can't see all the imperfections. I've been tricking you all by hiding all these nasty stuff under the rug. But yeah, this is, you know, the best you can do. Honestly, here, let me bring this. Like here, for example, I've been just removing props from things or fencing things out. There is some like gradient here at the end of these houses, but not a whole lot you can do, honestly. Like if you have, I mean, the obvious thing, I noticed that you were talking more about these houses and not the ones that I was showing you a second ago. But I think the key here is to like really get rid of all the props that may be interfering with things. But once you actually have the house, like for example here, this is a pretty steep lot for this house. Let me bring the sun. Can I not move the sun? Okay, I'll have to change the latitude. There we go. It spawns that brick wall at the bottom of the building, so you can just keep it like this. As long as you don't have any props, the props will basically show all the imperfections from this. Yeah, you can, like Skivett said, you can just prop it up and you'll be fine. Soccer in USA, football in Europe. Yeah, it's football. I know. I'm just used to saying soccer, but it's football. It's football all over the world, even in the US. The US people just say it wrong. Are you happy now? Yeah, prop it up is amazing. So for example, these houses, by the way, if you're planning on doing a European series, you should definitely get the European Suburban expansion pack. It's not really a DLC. It's made by Avania, so you'll actually be contributing to a member of the community. You definitely want to get rid of all the props attached to it, but the houses themselves, the actual assets look fantastic. She did an amazing job here, so highly, highly recommend it. Do you plan on making an African city? Not right now, but maybe. I never say never. I've done an Asian city already, which was Sinu in the Maldives. But I'm not opposed to doing anything. I'm open to consider everything. But honestly, whatever I feel like inspired at the time of, when I start a series is what I end up doing. That's kind of how it goes. How do you make intersections work on a hill? So, I mean, intersections on a hill, like they just flatten out. There's really not a lot of control that you can do. Here, let me show you real quick. So let's say we have this, right? So we have that angle there. And if we do this, you can see how this now is like perfectly flat. So there's really not a whole lot of control other than bringing this up or down. That's pretty much how it goes. Sorry, I can't give you a more detailed answer, but that's what it is. Sinu was Asian? Yeah. The Maldives are in Asia. They're on the west coast of India, basically. I mean, they're far away, but that's kind of where it is, in the Indian Ocean. All right, I think I need to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for tuning in. This video, like I said, is going to be cropped and put up on my YouTube channel, so you can come and rewatch this if you need some help. Hopefully I answered all your questions. If you're new to the channel, you just landed here, make sure to subscribe and check out the rest of my videos. This city that you're looking at right now it's my main series. It's called Night Owl, and you can go watch all 11 episodes. Oh yeah, what was the surprise? I forgot about the surprise. All right, so let's see how many people are here, by the way. So the surprise is that the next episode of Night Owl is already uploaded and ready. So I'm gonna give you a sneak preview. I'm gonna paste the link in the chat in just a second. I just want to see how many people are tuning in right now. So I think we're at 300 people watching this. I love how YouTube doesn't tell me anything. And what about on Twitch? We have 54 people on Twitch. Wow, that's actually pretty good. All right, so here goes. Night Owl, episode 12. Go watch it. Pasting that link on Twitch as well. It's unlisted, so only patrons and the people watching this stream will be able to watch it. It'll probably be public in like a day or two. But yeah, all right, that's it. Enjoy the next episode of Night Owl. This, by the way, this saving was like the old version, like not the actual final saving. I was all sneaky like that. Anyways, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys later.